In this video, I will show how to sew a drawstring pouch by hand, and this should be friendly for absolute beginners in sewing. Part 1 is preparing the fabric. Start by folding your fabric in half lengthwise, and then measure the dimensions of your pouch. Mine I'm measuring at about 6 inches wide by 10 inches tall. The actual pouch will be a little bit smaller because some of this is room for sewing, and especially at the top will be room for the drawstring. So draw out the lines that you're measuring and then cut along those lines so that you have the fabric for your pouch, and the bottom edge you will not cut, it's going to be folded and doesn't need to be sewn. Next, measure 1.5 and 2 inches down from the top of the pouch and make little marks on either side, and then you're going to draw a line a little bit away from the edge, straight up and down, leaving those markings open because that will be the opening of your drawstring in the end. Your fabric is now ready to sew. So part 2 is stitching the sides of your pouch. Thread your needle and knot it at the end. Now we're going to sew up the sides using a back stitch, which I will show, but you're going to start the needle at the very bottom along that line that you drew, and then put it back through very close to the stitch that you just made, and then come back up the other side. So once you pull your needle through, instead of going forward, you're going to go back, touching that previous stitch that you made. So this is why it's called a back stitch. Then you move up again a little bit, coming back to that previous stitch every time. Now for a faster way to do it, you can actually do 2 stitches at once. So when you go in to do your back stitch, scoop up a little bit of fabric and come back up all in one motion. Once you reach your marking, you're going to finish off your stitch and then tie it in a knot in the back. So to do a knot, just scoop up under one of your previous stitches and stick your needle through that loop and pull it nice and tight, and then cut the thread at the end. Stitch the rest of the line above the gap and then do the same on the other side. So your sides are now stitched, and the next part will be preparing the drawstring loop. Pick up your pouch and open up the seam that you have sewn. So the 2 little fabric flaps you're going to open until just below the gap for the drawstring, and then you're going to iron that open so that the flaps stay open while you're working with it, and then do that for the next side as well. Once both sides are ironed, you're going to take the top of the pouch and fold it down about 1/4 inch all the way around, and then iron that so it also stays in place. And then you're going to fold it down again so that your fold goes until just below the opening for the drawstring, and then iron it again very well on both sides. Now look on the inside of your pouch and find those 2 little drawstring holes, and make sure that they're right at the top so that they fall along within that folded flap that you have. In the next part, we will sew along the bottom edge of this fold in order to complete the drawstring loop. This time we are going to use a running stitch, but it starts the same as a back stitch. So insert your needle on this side, making sure your knot is also on this side, because it's actually going to end up being the inside of the pouch, so you don't want your knot to show. So bring your needle back through, but instead of going back this time, you're going to go forward. So this is why it's called a running stitch, because you're running your needle forward. So you bring your needle in just a tiny bit and then move it forward again. So you can do the same quick method of just scooping up a little bit of fabric, but instead of going back, you're going forward, and you can actually scoop up several bits at a time, and this will make it go even faster. It might take a little bit of practice, but once you get the hang of it, it goes really fast and it's actually quite fun to do. Once you reach the edge, turn your pouch and keep going until you end up back where you started in the beginning, and then you'll knot your thread and cut it, and this completes the sewing part of your pouch. The next step is to insert the drawstring. Turn your pouch right side out, and if it needs it, you can give it a little iron just to straighten up the edges. Cut 2 pieces of string or ribbon. That's a good size for the size of your pouch. For me, it's about 18 inches long. And then insert a safety pin through it, and then start pushing it through the hole, through the inside of the loop there. And then do the same all the way around until you end up back where you started, and knot the 2 pieces of string together. And then you're going to do the same thing, except starting on the opposite side, so that your string starts and ends on the other side of the pouch. So I'm going all the way around, and then at the end, remove your string from the safety pin and knot it. And this will give your drawstring pouch 2 strings to pull along on either end that will close and open your pouch. And that completes your pouch.